short-term rental, public hearing for their site plan at 28 Woodcrest in Woodcrest, Milton. An ongoing application review, we have Dock Road for preliminary or site plan and lot line for 103 through 137 Dock Road in Marlborough. The next deadline is Wednesday, September 24th. The next scheduled meeting, Monday, October 6th, 2025. First up, first of all, any announcements from the board? General communications? First up, we have a public hearing for Maple Branch Manor short-term rental. Legal notice, minor site plan application and special use permit application. Please take notice of public hearing will be held by the Marlborough Planning Board pursuant to the Town of Marlborough Town Code, Section 155.31 and Section 155.32 on Monday, September 15, 2025 for the following application of the Maple Branch Manor short-term rental at the Town Hall, 21 Milton Turnpike, Milton, New York at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter as may be heard. The applicant is asking for site plan approval and special use permit for a short-term rental on lands located at 28 Woodcrest Lane in Milton, New York, Section 103.3, Block 3, Lot 22. Any interested parties, either for or against this proposal, will have an opportunity to be heard at this time. Chris Brennan, Chairman, Town Marlborough Planning Board. Is the applicant here this evening? No. Would you like to come up to the table, please? Could you please just state your name for the stenographer?
I'm Constance Ray.
And do you have the mailings that you sent out?
I do.
Great. Do you know how many that were sent out?
21.
21. Just give those to the secretary. That would be great. Would you just like to provide a very brief overview for the public if they have something? Do you have any information on what it is you have planned here?
Say that again?
If you could just give a brief overview of what it is you're planning on doing here.
It's I'm kind of an Airbnb that's geared towards wedding parties. There are a lot of wedding venues around here, but no place to stay. So I turned what was Marlborough Hotel into Maple Branch Manor. It's a 7-bedroom, 9-bathroom house now that's geared for wedding parties. No weddings, just sleeping.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on this project? No? Is there any comments or questions from the board? Pat, would you like to review your comments quickly?
Yeah, this was referred to the Ulster County Planning. We received a no county impact back based on that referral. The Town of Marlborough Building Department issued their, I'll call it a gatekeeper letter regarding the site, identifying no issues. And I believe that the jurisdictional fire department did a field review of it. It was discussed at the last meeting, was going to occur the next day. So we don't have any outstanding issues with this. And it is a special use, so it's here for the public hearing.
Great, thank you. If there's nothing else from the board, I'd like a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
A second that. Any objection? Any discussion? Sorry, first. Any objection? All right. So it seems as though we're all set. I would like to also have a resolution to authorize our attorney for a resolution of approval for the October 6th meeting.
I'll make that motion.
So second. Any discussion? Any objection? So moved. So we will see you on October the 6th, and we will have a resolution of approval ready to vote at that time.
Oh, so I'm not good to go until October 6th?
Correct.
Oh,
Probably October 7th.
Probably October 7th, correct? Yes.
okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda, we have Dock Road for preliminary for site plan and lot line at 103 to 137 Dock Road North. Pat, while they're coming up, you want to just go through your comments?
We don't have any new plans since the last meeting. We did submit to the county, and they have a completed review date of 6th August, which we received the county review. The board should discuss the county referral. There are several required modifications which would either have to be addressed or overridden by a supermajority vote. I would suggest the board review issued several rounds of comments, and we're down to very technical comments on the stormwater pollution prevention plan. The board previously reviewed the part 2 of the long-form EAF, and at the meeting in June, at the July 21st meeting, the board accepted the applicant's additional information regarding the part 2 of the EAF, and at that point, there was no potential significant environmental impacts identified after the board's review of that. You will be in a position to address a secret determination in the very near future. Any significant changes caused by the county planning comments should be taken into consideration during that secret review, completion of the secret process. We did receive a draft negative declaration. We have provided the first round of comments on there. The board has that in front of you. Unfortunately, our changes were in red track change, but they're just showing us a little lighter gray on your comments. But the applicants have addressed our first round of comments, and I know Hannah's office is also reviewing that document. So that's where we're at with the process, and I'll refer to Hannah on the legal procedures that are outstanding.
Hannah?
Yes, so I've been in communication with the applicant's attorney, and based on a particular case which describes a town law statute, my office is under the impression that there needs to be a second public hearing as to the lot line adjustment. And I actually took some time to reach out to the Department of State today to figure out whether that would mean only the lot line adjustment would be the subject of that second public hearing, or if the rest of the application should also play into that as well. And the feedback that I received was that it would make sense to do separate approvals for the site plan as for the lot line adjustment, because it's all kind of part of the same project. And the lot line adjustment is an integral piece of the site plan approval, and so for that reason, I think it makes sense to move forward with seeker, wrap that up, have that second public hearing, and then have a resolution of approval to adopt, hopefully to approve both the site plan and the lot line adjustment.
Great, thank you. Before we get into comments or questions from the board, I would like to address the Ulster County Planning Board's recommendation, and everyone should have a copy of that in the packet.
Has the applicant received the Ulster County Planning Board
Yes.
comment?
We're prepared to speak out when the board's ready to.
Okay, so you did get it, okay.
So the first recommendation was in regards to easements. All easements that need to be identified on plans. Ulster County Planning Board further recommends cross-access easements along the parcels owned by the applicant fronting the Route 9W corridor, as well as the T-shaped turnaround associated with cottages near the Marlborough Elementary School site. The applicant should allow for the community to connect this project across the school district parcel for access across to the existing traffic signal as an alternative means for making safe turning movements onto and from the Route 9W corridor. I have to apologize, I did not bring my reading glasses this evening. I'm doing the best I can. Comments or questions from the board regarding this first portion?
I'd like to hear the comments,
Sure.
if that's possible, before I make a comment.
Did you have a comment regarding that recommendation?
Yes, absolutely. So Mark Blanchard, Land Use Council for the application. We would say, I think that the Ulster County Planning Board, I was impressed, the town had forwarded them 55 documents, so they certainly reviewed a robust record that this board has been reviewing. I think what I see with it, our takeaway from the application side from the comments are that the Ulster County Planning Board has commented on policy issues, and they've commented on some specific site planning opinions that they have. We didn't see anything in here that would cause us to change any of the design. We didn't see anything in here that was new. A lot of this stuff that Ulster County, many of the issues that Ulster County raised were issues that we had already talked about. For example, the access, getting easement from the school board to have access to the middle school property. That's something we had looked at very early on, so that it was not deemed to be feasible. With the other thing was the interconnectivity of the sidewalks within the application site, within the project site. That's something we've done our best with. We've offered as many internal sidewalks that we can offer. The other issue was the sidewalk improving the sidewalk connectivity on 9W, and the frontage that's connected to this project, we are improving that, that sidewalk area. The Ulster County Planning Board had a recommendation relating to affordable housing. Town of Marlborough doesn't have an affordable housing set-aside requirement. We are in compliance with the Town of Marlborough Town Code. So I get that the Ulster County Planning Board has a concern about affordability and access to new housing, but that's a policy decision that they are advancing. That's not something that where we would change our unit count. They have, for some reason, the Ulster County Planning Board stated that the gated portion having a check-in as you come into a private road. Remember, the road's not going to be dedicated to the town, so the private road issue, they have offered the opinion that that doesn't coincide with the community character. We disagree. So I think when you go through each of these comments, they either have already been addressed through our discussions with this board, or they are opinions that we disagree with our design, and we believe that there's the board. My ask to the board is that under the statute, as Mr. Hines already said, you are empowered to vote with a supermajority to, I hate to say disregard, but to move forward with the project as currently presented without impacts from the Ulster County Planning Department.
You have to have a reasoned explanation for each of those required modifications as to why you don't feel that insufficiency should be addressed. And so I think you're being a little ingenuous telling the board that they can just willy-nilly overrule what the county planning has suggested.
Well, may I respond to that?
Excuse me, just let me know.
Sure. When you're ready, I'm ready.
That's a fact, but, you are right. When I got these recommendations, I thought, my God, in November of 2024, these are the exact issues we raised, the planning board raised with you guys. And since then, there has been almost no response to any of our concerns to make this project a better project. And, you know, all of the issues with connectivity and sidewalks, safety for people who are trying to walk within this project is all still the same problems that we had from the very beginning going forward. Now, I've looked at the other projects that your company has done, and there are some beautiful projects, but I think it's interesting to note that at those projects, you talk about that you have wonderful interior walkways in those projects. The one at the Vineyard at Brookfield, you have residents walk safely to the clubhouse using a carefully designed network of internal walkways. I'm wondering why the town of Marlborough can't have this kind of attention to a project that's coming in so that the health, safety, and welfare of the people who are going to be purchasing these properties will be protected and will have the same amenities as some of your other nice places have.
Sure. May I answer, or?
Sure.
So let's go back to the beginning. I'll push back on a couple of things. Number one, I'm not being disingenuous at all. I started off my comments by noting that the Ulster County Planning Board reviewed 55 documents, the same document, and I said the same number of documents that this board has reviewed. So when I said that it's this exact same things we have been going over and discussing, I didn't suggest to this board, I didn't imply to this board, I didn't even hint to this board that you could willy-nilly overrule the Ulster County. What I said to you was that we have gone through their issues. For example, the exiting into the middle school. Not happening. It's not feasible. Excuse me? Elementary. It's not, excuse me, it's fine. That's not feasible. We went through them. We went through the sidewalks. It's not that we didn't change what we're offering for the sidewalks. We have offered as much as possible. We offered more. There's a lot more linear footage of sidewalk now, thanks to your board's comments, than there was when we submitted our plans. And we also told you that having a fully connected sidewalk network in the interior of the project would mean that the houses get pushed back in order to preserve the parking, off-street parking space in the driveway itself. So these are reason elaborations. These are reasons that we have discussed with you. We have amended our project. We have submitted document after document showing how the interconnectivity is appropriate. The whole gate, we've said it time and time again, the gate to get into this community is a traffic calming device where people come into the community coming into a driveway setting, not a thoroughfare. It's a private road. There's no difference with that gate than there is for a keypad on a building with numerous units, internal units for a condominium project. It is not some sort of exclusive thing. As I said to you time and time again, there are no deed restrictions. There's the Fair Housing Act. No one is looking to restrict anyone from purchasing or visiting. It's just that this gate getting in serves to slow traffic throughout. There's a lower speed limit internally. That's how it works. Every single thing that's in here that the county has raised, we have talked about. The county says they have not seen the submission to DOT. We have permission to apply to DOT now because they have approved our design. A former board member said that our left turn lane is the best design possible for that traffic. We talked about moving the access on 9W. Topography-wise, we can't do it. So all of these objections or recommendations raised by the county I'm not asking you to willy-nilly ignore them. I'm saying the county's a little late to the party. It's not their fault the way the procedures are. But we have gone through all of these issues. And we have settled these issues. So there's a robust record in front of you of having seen this information.
You think we've settled it. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think we've settled it. Something like the cross easements are something that would be easy enough for you to do. You don't have to actually look at doing a road through the school property, but if you had an easement for future possible development, how would that negatively impact your project, other than to, at some point in the future, if that ever was a possibility, you could access possibly that light farther up?
We can't access through school.
I'm not saying you're accessing, I'm saying why could you not have a cross easement for possible future planning?
We looked into that. It doesn't make sense. It's not an easement is a simple concept. Getting in the easement in this situation is not a simple undertaking. We looked at the concept of the easement. It was one of the that concept came up, I believe, when Supervisor Lanzetta was at one of our first meetings, was looking at the elementary school property. And it's not feasible. It's not something that we can do.
If I could just jump in.
Sure.
I don't think she's referring to an easement through the elementary school property. She's talking about an easement from the one property where the project will be and the as yet undeveloped property on 9W.
Because that's another issue. We looked at that. We were thinking we explored that with DOT and this board. If we went north, I always get it.
You're right.
North. We go north, the topography going back into the Dock Road site doesn't permit it. The slope, the road is too steep. We had an engineering write-up on that issue.
I think so.
And we submitted that, I believe, sorry. I believe we submitted that into the town's consultants.
We don't know, I guess the point I think that what she's trying to make is that we don't know what the future holds. Say that gas station is destroyed and it's gone. Now you have the opportunity to purchase that and you can put a light and the traffic will come down Birdsville, but you don't have the easement across your own piece of property to get it. I think, am I wrong?
The number of there's a variety of easements that the county had recommended that you look at. And if they're on your own property, I'm not talking about going on to other people's properties, but just to make those so that they're not those particular easement areas are not developed in case at some point in time you want to use those easements to travel onto the adjoining properties. We also, you know, it's also, I just want to make the note that in November, we asked you for communications between you and DOT, and we still, as a board, have never seen those internal communications back and forth. And as a matter of fact, I contacted the DOT at the end of June, and they said that they did not know that you own the properties now up on 9W, and that the last time that they had seen any maps on the project were from October 2024.
Excuse me.
I have an email right here from the DOT stating that, so.
Well, we have your highway supervisor, and I believe his deputy, and the town supervisor sat with the principals of this project, with DOT and the engineers on at least 4 occasions. So, if anyone's being disingenuous, excuse me, with all due respect, the town has been involved every step of the way. Maybe not a planning board liaison, but the town of Marlborough Highway Department has been involved every step of the way with our meetings with DOT. And the group sitting here before you applying for the Orchards on Hudson residential project is not the group that owns the adjacent parcels. I've said that transparently. It's a different investment group for a different purpose. And it has nothing to do with ownership. Can we agree? What I am saying to you is it's not a question of ownership, it's a question of topography and grading. Coming in on the northerly part of the commercial property, the existing property, if we had the easement there, once you get through that property and come up with the dock road, the landscape, the topography doesn't work. It's not a feasible construction alternative for a drive. It's not.
Well, see,
Please.
the other properties, as Creighton Manning suggested, you don't have to build them out, you don't even have to have the plans for that at this point, that they have the easements coming from the private road into those properties, because we're trying to limit the access on and off of 9W. Now would be the time to put those in, which is something that the county also refers to too. And why wouldn't that be a good idea at this time?
Well, I don't understand why we're not hearing each other. The easement, it's not a viable construction solution. We're still getting out into 9W, and the easement, where the easement would take you into the residential project is not feasible. You cannot construct a road at that grade. I don't know how else to
I'm
say.
talking about getting in and out of the residential property. I'm talking about now is the time to be looking at those additional commercial properties at 9W and have them access that same road, so that they're not putting in additional access entrances on 9W while your people are, while the people who are in the residential unit are also trying to get out at the same point in time.
Well, look, now I think maybe I'm understanding you now. If this question is, then this is a future hypothetical based on undeveloped land, and we don't even have a plan for it yet. I mean, that's the burden of the applicant coming in for the commercial properties. I mean, maybe that is a solution at that time. I see what you're saying. You want to limit existing curb cuts off of the existing commercial parcels to come all out to the dock. Yeah, but that's an impossibility right now. We can't be held to that standard. The whole commercial portion is not even on the back of an envelope yet. That portion. Those are just concepts, perhaps ideas. That's the burden of that applicant. That doesn't create or solve or do anything to what I'm doing on Orchards on Hudson. That's a future project, and that's inappropriate to hang up this application on a hypothetical future project.
It's not kind of hanging up, it's just adding an additional easement on the property in case there's future development.
But that's for that applicant, that owner, that application to deal with. That's a mitigation measure for that project. If that project is identified, this board, your consultants identify potential traffic impact for their curb cuts, then they come and ask the owner for an easement. That's their problem. I hate to say it that way. I'm just trying to distill it down to its most simplest terms. That's a burden on the future application. How are we gonna give an easement to a hypothetical project? I don't understand this.
Pat, do you have anything on that also?
No, we did discuss the topographic constraints between the condominium project and the commercial projects there.
But maybe I'm not answering the right
I
question.
think that what Mr. Knight was saying is that while some of the principles in the condo project may be principles in the commercial properties, they are
Yes.
owned by different commercial entities, different LLCs,
Yes.
for lack of a better term.
Right, I was transparent about that. There is a portion of shared ownership, but it's a different investment group. We've been transparent about, I'm not trying to trick anyone, but that project is under different ownership. Sorry to cut you off, but it's
No.
different ownership, and there are multiple ideas of what would be allowed. It's a great zoning for us right there for a commercial property. That overlay zone is fantastic. We don't know what's happening there yet.
And Jill, you address this?
What we addressed was the issue of segmentation, and that's why we're not looking at these future projects, because they're so highly discussed when we step. Well,
It was raised by Lake County.
So, here, I tend to agree with them, that really does fall on the next applicant. That being said, I'd like to have a motion to override the first required modification regarding easements.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Any discussion? Any objection?
I object.
So that passes. The next required modification was the US Route 9W access. It will require highway work. The project needs to be further integrated with the town's sidewalk projects into the hangar area, including the placement of crosswalks. Perhaps I misunderstood. Does your plan not include sidewalks at that entry point at 9W? It does, as it stands today.
It does. We have provided a sidewalk look, remember, our project is narrow and gets wider as you go back, so the actual frontage that's owned by the Orchards on Hudson project is putting in as much sidewalk that's possible there.
It's on the south end of the boulevard entrance, between the boulevard entrance and Route 9 and Dock Road.
And Hannah, we could, obviously, the other part with the highway work permit from New York State DOT, that could be a condition of the approval.
No, I don't know that I saw the phase one, we've had language in Ken Worcester where there's a phase one concept approval from DOT,
That's right.
which then allows them to go to phase two, the detailed design.
She's done.
Oh, why are we requiring a sliver of sidewalk on that side?
Part of the, but it's not really.
But it makes no sense.
It does make sense, because as the next property becomes, they all get interconnected, if we don't do that, we'll never get any sidewalks in.
Or on the west side, all the way through, all the way in.
Where there are sidewalks directly across the street from Dock Road, that would interconnect to where they are.
So we have it coming down all the way by, Directman Saloon
Correct,
to the fountain,
correct.
right? And then they're going to cross the street, and they're gonna put what, 10 feet?
And then,
5 feet?
should the other property get developed, it will connect into that, we'll still be able to go.
5 feet.
Use the crosswalk.
But Sinclair's not gonna happen, and we're not gonna put it in front of the elementary school going down on the east side.
So you do a
We don't
crosswalk.
know it, the DOT could possibly
In
use
front of
it.
the elementary school.
Yeah.
They-
Along the Route 9W.
Yeah. I've been here a long time.
So, it sounds, Hannah, I'm sorry, so we could make that a highway work permit, obviously, be a
one at a time.
required modification, correct?
I'm so sorry, can you please repeat?
Yes, on page 2 of the Ulster County Planning Board's review for the Route 9W access required modifications, the New York State DOT highway work permit, obviously that would be a condition of the approval, correct?
Yes.
So then I would like a motion to accept that required modification because there'll be a condition of the approval and they'll put in the sliver of sidewalk to be connected to the next sliver of sidewalk. Is there a second? Any discussion? Any objections to that? So we will approve that. 2, approved. The next required modification that I see is, review the current pedestrian plan for the project is needed and should include development of complete street design. Connections for all residents access, including ADA compliant access needs to be included. Clear connections from the clubhouse area to the Route 9W need to be defined. Additionally, there is limited parking at the clubhouse, requiring owners and visitors to walk considerable distance to access the nearest additional open parking areas to the southwest. Sidewalk connections between the parking area and the clubhouse are recommended as a required modification. You sir already addressed that. You said that the would require moving the homes back, and that the gate itself was limiting the speed limit, and there would be low speed limits on the site, correct?
Correct, but moving bringing the homes back changes, we looked at that. So there were multiple instances where we could either, number one, create a variance, the need for a variance, or we're limiting the backyard, some of that topography slopes off. What is that? That's the south side, right? The south side residences would lose a lot of backyard if the houses were pushed back into the backyard, and they would have, so we just determined that the sidewalk, in those locations, limited locations throughout the parcel, where they did not appear on the plan, there were other factors that determined that they weren't feasible in that location. We have, like I said, there's hundreds of more linear feet within the internal plan now than when we first started.
There's over 1,000 feet of sidewalk.
There was 0 when you first started.
Right, there was 0, right.
Right.
Comments or questions from the board now?
So, again, I think there's tremendous safety issues associated with that. You're gonna have people who have to be walking down in the street to get to the clubhouse. Because even if they drive down to the clubhouse, there's very limited, parking. They have to walk by the ways if they go to the adjacent parking spaces that are for visitors or anybody else. You don't have crosswalks for them to even get over to safely from the parking lot to the clubhouse. I think it's very, very poorly thought out, and I think it's a real safety hazard.
Now remember that there is no through, this is not a through street, it's a dead end between those townhomes and the clubhouse. So there will be very little traffic, there will be very slow traffic. The traffic will probably go at a rate that's not very different than people walking. So that's one of the reasons why we felt it was an appropriate adjustment for us.
But you have to remember that all of those houses, if they're like my street, which is it's a dead end and it's very quiet and very few houses, has a lot of Amazon trucks running up and down, and DoorDash, and all other kinds of FedEx, all kinds of traffic, garbage trucks coming in and out. And so the people who are going to walk down the streets, or, apparently they won't be able to walk down the streets because it's just not going to be feasible for people to access their amenity without getting into their car and driving down to the bottom and finding a place to park. But it just seems to me that with the additional traffic that is entailed with, the lifestyles today, that they should at least have crosswalks and safe lighting, and because they won't be able to walk around inside that project, which is supposed to be, and is supposed to, under our comprehensive plan, is supposed to be walkable and is supposed to be connected to the rest of the community.
We haven't determined the procedures for Amazon trucks and FedEx trucks. We haven't, we could certainly have crosswalks. So I think you're advancing an idea that is really an exaggeration. It's going to be a quiet community. People can easily walk to the clubhouse. They're more than likely will want to do that. There's not going to be a lot of traffic. There's no through traffic. So that's this is our 27th project, and we believe that's the right way to design this project, with some sidewalks and some areas that don't have sidewalks.
And
Well,
the
your other
connectivity-
projects have had really nice,
And those have,
projects
those
that
have
people
through
should.
streets, and that was a different consideration at those projects. It's
Yeah.
just it's a different project, Orchard Zone, this is different.
I tend to agree with the fact that there won't be through traffic, most of the residents will be there, so I'd like to have a motion to, deny the required modification for the Ulster County Planning Board regarding where we are right now.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any objection? No objection.
I understand.
Oh, sorry. The next required modification is wayfinding required modifications. I'm assuming that this will be part of your project. The house numbering, range directions to the clubhouse, incorporating the building signage that will be there.
Sure.
We will make that a condition of approval when we get there. So I'd like to, accept this required modification for wayfinding. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Any objection? Any discussion, sorry? Any objection? So we will include that one. The next required modification is that the 6 parking spaces, by the roadway of the complex be relocated or removed from the design to avoid the proposed unsafe backroom movements and developments being right away, exploring opportunities for parallel parking design is recommended. Comments from you on that?
Multiple items that we think that with the kind of speed of the vehicles that will be traveling through here, that there's ample, safety opportunities for backing up in that space. It would mean providing fewer visitor parking spaces, which we've heard from this board as a concern kind of on the other end, so we're trying to balance providing enough parking on the space for visitors, on the site for visitors, with making sure that it's safe.
And like the sidewalk issue, this represents a greater number. I believe we started with 4, if I'm not mistaken. So thanks to the board's earlier comments, we've increased from 4 to 6. So just again, it's a design issue that the final design was a result of taking the board's recommendations and comments and increasing it.
I'd like a motion to, override that required modification. Second? Okay. Any discussion? Any objection?
I object.
Sustainability, required modification. Town official ways, it's going to meet the near stretch energy code and accuracy to reduce carbon footprints. Recommends that the infrastructure necessary to develop electric vehicle charging stations should be provided in the growing trend in New York State and County to reduce automobile emissions. Do you have any plans for electric parking stations? Or they would be the homeowner's responsibility to mount in the garage, I believe you said earlier at one point?
Do you want to make sure each unit is enabled for it, that each homeowner can have electric vehicle charging, at the time of purchase?
No plans to have them outside the property, in the clubhouse, anything like that?
No, I think having it in the unit is sufficient.
Discussion.
I believe there was discussion that they would be making the provisions for the electrical systems to be capable of having them in the garages.
Right, and I think that's in line with the comment from the county is that recommends that the infrastructure necessary to develop should be provided, and I believe we are in compliance with that, actually.
We're gonna do that.
Like that, a motion to, override that required modification?
I think you can accept that one based on the conversation you just had.
I'd say right,
So
that is satisfied.
okay, so,
So you believe this is satisfying, they don't have to have separate, have to.
so that,
Yeah, it goes back to the discussion that there's very few, I'll say public, well, it's a gated community, very few parking spaces other than for the individual units, the garage and the driveway in front.
so we met. All right, so I'd like to have a motion to accept that. No, for the use, that was to deny. I'd like to have a motion to accept the required modification about the near stretch energy code.
Should rescind my,
Yes.
I'll rescind my motion to deny.
So, required modification, yes, I'm calling number 6 for the near stretch energy code. Can I have a motion to accept that?
Accept.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Any objection? Good. Consistency determination, coastal zone consistency determination by the town's local waterfront advisory committee will be necessary. I'll call this number 7. Supervisor Corcoran, since you're here, it's my understanding that the waterfront advisory committee is no longer in effect in our town?
B2, the planning board shall be responsible for consistency review of any planning board action. So, as you move forward in the approvals, there are 13 items that you need to address that can be part of your resolution, regarding the coastal or the local waterfront revitalization. So while there is no required review by the town's local waterfront advisory committee, even in this ordinance, there's no review by the local waterfront advisory committee. It defers, that consistency review to town board will be responsible for town board actions, planning board consistency for any planning board actions, zoning board for any that goes on and on describing it.
So we're accepting that
So
modification?
you will be accepting that, and that'll be part of your review, prior to a final approval. That review will have to be done, and it can need to be done, it'll be done prior to the, resolution and be incorporated as part of that.
Planning board.
The planning board,
We would just
We know
know,
that.
it's 13 items that you review and say, yes, this project complies, or no, it doesn't, but it's something, regardless of the local waterfront advisory, the chapter 99 defers this to you. So you'll be accepting that,
Can we get that checklist, please?
sure, it's in town code, but I can
yeah,
provide
we
that,
just know-
I can provide that to planning board tomorrow.
So I'd like a motion to accept that required modification for the consistency.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
I think what Mr. Hines is saying, this, you really respectfully, you should not accept this determination because it's the local waterfront advisory committee that the county is asking for the determination to come from. I believe what the status now is that this board does that, not the local waterfront, or unless you're saying the planning board is also the committee?
No, there is no review by the committee, I think it's,
Right.
it's a misstated requirement, but I think that the planning board, consistent with chapter 99, will undertake that.
You do it as your board, not as a,
Right.
So I'd like that.
In addition, as the project moves forward, and when we did lead agency, we submitted the project to, the New York State Department of State for a coastal consistency requirement similar to this, and that will be a conditional approval, that acceptance, a coastal consistency from the Department of State will be a requirement of any approval of this board. So there's gonna be two consistency reviews regarding, coastal consistency and the waterfront. The waterfront is under the purview of this board.
we would know we included the consistency analysis in the extended environmental assessment along with the waterfront assessment form that's required by the town, so that's all included in the record.
So I'd like to have a motion to accept that consistency determination required modification.
As modified, being the planning board.
As modified, as per town code.
I'll make that motion.
Second? Second. Discussion? Objection? So we'll say yes. Stormwater required modification, switch to be reviewed by a third party consultant, had been looked at and reviewed.
Yeah, as in my office's comments, that is being done. We are the quote-unquote third-party reviewer. In addition, the project will require a stormwater facilities maintenance agreement regarding the long-term operation and maintenance of those improvements, as well as securities for the project to ensure that those are in place. And the town has a process for that.
So that's something we should accept, correct?
Correct.
Alright, so I'd like to have a motion to accept that required modification. Is there a second? Second. Discussion? Objection? Alright. Move down.
Unless this advisory.
Last, so we've gone through all of the recommended, requirements for the town. So, I spoke with our attorney, before the meeting and earlier today on the phone, and, the applicant did provide us with a, with their version of the negative declaration. However, it's not this board's practice to get the negative declaration from the applicant. So moving forward, this would be the overall plan that I'd like to follow. On the October 6th meeting, I'd like to authorize, and I'll say it all, and then we'll go through it piece by piece. But for the October 6th meeting, I'd like to have the attorney have the authorization to draft our own negative declaration and the EAF Part 2. And apparently that has to be
Part
approved.
three.
Part 3, sorry. That has to be approved prior to the public hearing. So we will, on the October 6th meeting, look over the negative declaration as prepared by our attorney and the EAF Part 3. Both approved, we hold this public hearing on the same date. Should there be no substantial issues raised that have not already been brought up or addressed at that public hearing at the October sixth meeting. We would then authorize the attorney for a resolution of approval for the October 20th meeting. So I will go through that one step at a time. And do you have anything to add? I'm sorry.
No, I think that's right.
All right, thank you. So for that, I'd like to have a motion to authorize the attorney to prepare a negative deck for the October sixth meeting.
I'll make that.
Any?
A draft for the board's
Draft,
consideration.
thank you. Any, is there a second? I'll second. Any discussion? Any objection? So the second part of that would be to authorize, I believe Pat and Hannah work on that together with EAF Part 3. So I'd like to authorize them to have that ready for the public hearing. I'm sorry, for the October 6th meeting. EAF Part 3, could I have a motion? So you're already, second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Any objection? I'd like to have a motion to schedule a public hearing for this project on the same date to be held after review of the negative deck. Public hearing will be on October 6th.
I'll make that motion, Chris.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on that? Any objection? And just so we're clear, the applicant's attorney was in agreement that that was something that was necessary to do.
Well, Mr. Chairman, may I speak to that?
Of course.
What I had said to the attorney, to Hannah, sorry, Mr. Atkinson, I couldn't remember your last name.
That's okay.
What I had said was, I agree, I had asked for the following actions to occur. The case, which was kindly provided to me, stated that the negative declaration would happen first. That starts the timing on a public hearing that is, a public hearing held within 62 days after the complete preliminary plat is received. So the public hearing on the site plan itself, I believe, has been open, conducted, and closed. The town law requires a public hearing for comments on the plat, i.e. the layout, the boundaries, how the boundary lots are being amended. In this instance, it's relatively minor. It's closer to 9W. But to my understanding, I think the case is pretty clear in town law. The public hearing, now anyone from the public can come up and say what they have to say, of course. But the purpose of the public hearing for this board's purview is comments into the preliminary plat. So I saw the negative deck, the board being free to adopt that negative declaration, because the case actually speaks to that would start the clock on the 62 days for the preliminary plat presentation. So I just don't want to get too mixed up into that we're reopening site plan issues.
So Hannah, can you speak to that as well? Because I know we discussed that.
Yes, thank you. I did some research on this today because I think that's a fair point, but there's some question there, and the difference between the town law when it comes to the timing of the public hearing as to a lot line adjustment is different than the wording about the timing of the public hearing as it comes to a site plan. And because those are different, there's kind of maybe some confusion about how the ordering is to take place. So the request of the applicant's attorney was that the board would go ahead and adopt the site plan, then have the public hearing. Please correct me if I'm misstating how you said it. To adopt the site plan, or rather approve the site plan, then have the public hearing as to the lot line, then in a separate resolution of approval, adopt the lot line. Is this correct?
Almost, and maybe what I asked for is that we had submitted a draft neg deck to the attorneys, not to steamroll, but just to get the discussion started. What I was hoping we could do was adopt the neg deck. I actually was hoping to do it tonight, but I wanted to adopt the negative declaration, then hold the public hearing for the subdivision, and then we would close the public hearing, and approve the plat and the site plan resolution in that same meeting. So it wasn't necessarily site plan, then at a later meeting, the subdivision or the plat. I saw the subdivision, the site plan resolution, the subdivision resolution being approved consecutively at the same meeting, but following earlier meeting where we had the neg deck approved. Sounds to me like for example, perhaps we could do the neg, here's what I would suggest, or here's what I would request. Perhaps at the October 6th meeting, the board won't have enough time to look at it yet. All right, I was hoping we could do the neg deck and then have the other items.
I think that's the procedural order that we're talking about right now. It's just that they may happen.
So then, I also think, just because I think it's gonna be a very lengthy process for this resolution of approval, I would like to have, I'm not saying we're approving it, but I would like to authorize Hannah to begin work on that, so that everything goes swimmingly at the October 6th meeting, that she's on the ground and when they're ready to do that. So can I have that motion as well?
I have a few things that I would like.
Is there a second? Discussion, go ahead.
Yeah, there's still issues that I would like to, take a look at that might affect some kind of conditions for approval. I'd like to get additional information about the school board meeting that was conducted and, the outcome of that you were supposed to have in September. And,
I've attended all the school board meetings. I have not come from the school board.
okay, well, it was my.
The school board reached out to our team to see if we could have a discussion, but it wasn't, they don't have a jurisdictional, approval. It was more of a briefing. We were not, there's no public hearing requirement for the school board, nothing of that nature. We had already reached out to them and got a clarification on their busing policy, which we came back to this board with clarification relating whether or not the school bus would enter into the property, which they did not. But the school board, it was more of a briefing to keep them up to, bring them up to speed on the project. But this board doesn't require any referral recommendation from the school board.
Well, we were concerned as a planning board about the safety of the kids, and their ability to get to school safely and for you to have a spot for them if they are waiting for the bus. And
So just like every other property on Route 9, they're gonna be picked up in front like myriad other properties, and we have a designated site that this board has control over, not the school board.
yeah, so you basically are giving them a sidewalk to wait on, and I think the school board, I don't know about the school board, but there were people at the school that thought there was gonna be like some kind of a safe, area that would be protected in some way for them to wait. I know I spoke with Mr. Rydell, and he said that it is true that they will go into a private site to some extent. So I was going to wait until you had continued discussions, because we raised the issue, and Ulster County has also raised the issue that they're worried that there's a safe place for the kids. And I thought you would be having further discussions with the school.
So this issue, you raised it, we've addressed it on numerous occasions and in numerous meetings. The school board may provide their preference to us as to having a shelter or something along those lines, but we are providing exactly what we can. We don't have the property rights to go off of our property and put more sidewalks that are not existing right now in the town of Marlborough across other people's land. The lack of sidewalks that are outside of our property boundaries is not something that the private landowner can fix. So we are giving, you want to say we're giving them a small strip of sidewalk? I would say it this way, we're giving them as much of sidewalk as falls within the ownership that our deed says that we own. So we're giving everything we can. When you look at the map, it's not, maybe you think it's not a lot, but we're giving as much sidewalk as we can possibly get.
We also did share our site plan with the school themselves and discussed it. And we have confirmation via email that has been submitted to this board, but they confirmed that's what was discussed. It was in keeping with what was discussed with them.
We also had their policy of not entering a private road by email, which we shared with the board.
Well, as I said, Mr. Rydell said that they have a different arrangement down in Middle Hope where they will come in and pick up the children. They won't come in a long way, but they will come in to get off of the road so that it's safer for the children.
They don't even go my road.
Yeah, they don't go everywhere.
Well, I'm just telling you. I'm telling you what the superintendent explained, that it is something that can be negotiated. And still, I'm talking about some type of a shelter that would be farther back on your own property, not up on 9W necessarily.
We have a.
Just before you address that, I'm just gonna motion that was seconded. We asked for discussion, I think she discussed, sorry, not she, Mrs. Lenta. Is there any additional discussion regarding the authorizing the attorney to draft a resolution of approval? The very foundational stuff for that is what we're referring to. Any objection to that? So we will allow him to begin that work.
Is it,
Anything?
That will be for the 20th.
Correct.
That subsequent meeting.
Alright.
is there, regarding the negative declaration, the board, we could agree, the board's empowered to act on that. Really, I think the memos are clear, you believe your path toward the negative declaration is now satisfied. If that vote can't happen this evening, I'd like to request that vote happen on October 6th, Mr. Chairman. Oh, the negative deck on October 6th, I'm sorry, thank you.
As well as the EAF part of it, as well as the public hearing.
I'm sorry, sir, what was that, as well as?
As well as the EAF part 3 and the public hearing will all be on the same date, October 6th.
Wonderful, thank you.
Sorry, Cindy, do you have anything else before we go?
Just, again, as another thing that I don't think we've had enough time to discuss is, the visual impact as seen from the river, and, I would like to have the board consider requiring, non-reflective natural materials, colors that would blend in more earth tone colors for the, project as opposed to white.
Can we push that off to the 6th and discuss that then? Give us time to
Okay.
reflect upon that? So we plan that for the 6th?
I think there was renderings provided, wasn't there?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
There was renderings provided, I recall.
Yeah. They were like colored white cottages.
Is there anything else anything else from your end?
I just want to state that my cutoff is the 24th.
Yeah, you have
Yeah, it has to be in by 24th.
9/24, thank you.
firmly.
You mean for the negative declaration? Sorry.
For
Anything
any
else for
submission.
We could do, so you hit that. Anything else before we go? You guys?
No.
Anything else from the board? No? Alright, I'd like to motion to adjourn.